Hey everyone, welcome to Ex-Fundie Diaries. My name is Elly, my pronouns are she, they, and this video is about the bi-erasure that I experienced growing up in Christian fundamentalism, and about childhood signs of my bisexuality that I missed. If you have watched my channel before, you will know that I am deeply proud to be bisexual. And if you're new, I'm sure this flower crown that I'm wearing, modeled after the bi flag, will give it away. But one of the reasons why I am so proud of this part of who I am is because it was hidden from me for most of my life. Not only did I think I was straight until I was 26 years old, but I also didn't even know that bisexuality existed until my early 20s. Growing up, I literally didn't know that being attracted to more than one gender was possible or real. This is bi-erasure, the denial that bisexuality exists. And bi-erasure is a huge problem in all parts of society. But in Christian fundamentalism, it is amplified, it is spiritualized, and it is 100% on purpose. My parents and all the other adults in my homeschool community were passionately queerphobic in the name of Jesus. As my sibling Annie explained in a past video, sheltering us from the gay agenda, huge air quotes, is one of the main reasons that they homeschooled us.
It also wasn't a secret. They had no problem saying that we don't want you to know what's out there in the world. We don't want you to be exposed to gay clubs at school, like not like nightclubs, like school clubs for LGBTQ kids, which would be all of us.
We were taught hateful misinformation on a regular basis. That homosexuality was not just a sin, but also a disgusting, evil perversion of God's perfect design for humanity. And it was all framed in wrong and harmful binaries. You're either a boy and you're destined to dominate, or you're a girl and you're destined to submit. You're either gay and you're sinning, or you're straight and you're obeying God. Bisexuality was completely erased from the equation. I have no memory of even hearing that word in my childhood or in my teenage years. The longer that time goes on, the more queer I understand myself to be. And the longer that I piece together my past, the more signs of my queerness and my bisexuality I'm able to recognize. I am so grateful to now be able to understand and put language to those experiences. So, with all of that being said, here are 3 signs of my bisexuality that I missed growing up. I've said in past videos that the first signs of being bi showed up around the age of 13. But I recently recalled a memory that happened when I was 4. Here's the backstory. Some Fundie kids are not allowed to watch Disney movies or any movies at all. But in my household, when I was little, there was a short list of approved Disney movies. Cinderella, because she didn't complain in the face of adversity. Beauty and the Beast, because Belle won over her angry captor with her quiet and gentle spirit. And Robin Hood, I'm assuming because he saved his damsel in distress, Maid Marian. There may have been 1 or 2 other approved Disney movies, but those are the 3 that stand out. My favorite was Robin Hood, and it is a core part of the memory that I'm about to share. When I was preschool age, 3 and 4 years old, my mom would drop me off a couple times a week at a Christian home daycare. The lady that ran the daycare had a giant backyard, or at least it felt giant to me at the time, and there was ivy growing on the fence. And one day, a little girl and I stood by the fence and reenacted the romantic scene from Robin Hood together. In the movie, Robin and Marian are standing by a pond in the evening, and there are fireflies all around as a love song plays in the background. Love goes on and on. And they look into each other's eyes as Robin gives Marian a glowing flower ring. I didn't have a flower ring to give to this little girl, so I grabbed a piece of ivy off of the fence and I asked her to put her hand out. And I slipped the stem of the ivy between her fingers so that the leaf was on top of her hand to represent the flower ring. And then she grabbed a piece of ivy and did the same for me. I can't remember the little girl's name or even what she looks like, but I remember being very happy in that moment. And here's the coolest part. We didn't say, okay, you be the boy and I'll be the girl, and then we'll switch. There were no gender roles in our little moment together. Now, I am well aware that fundies and other conservatives could hear that story and think that it means nothing. They may say that I am projecting my current beliefs onto an innocent memory of two little girls playing pretend. They'd say, there's no way that that could be an early reflection of romantic attraction. But that is not only another form of bi-erasure, it's also extremely hypocritical. Because when little girls and little boys play pretend, it is seen as romantic. And I have an example of this from my own life at that same age. My family went to a couple of different home Bible studies during my childhood, and while the parents would do their Bible study in one room, all the kids would play in another room. And when I was 4, me and another little boy from home Bible study pretended that we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and we also had a pretend marriage ceremony. And when I told my mom about it, she was really upset. That behavior meant something to her because it was a little girl and a little boy. Our different gender assignments made it serious rather than innocent and non-romantic. And to me, neither of those experiences are serious, and they are both innocent. I wasn't old enough to truly understand romance, but I was old enough to have crushes. And that memory of me and the little girl and the ivy rings is really special to me, because as far as I remember, it's the first time that my bisexuality appeared. The second sign I'd like to share did happen around the age of 13. At that age, I was obsessed with the idea of kissing, but I was also feeling a lot of shame and spending a lot of energy fighting that desire. Ever since I was little, my mom had made it abundantly clear that I was not allowed to kiss until I was standing at the altar and the pastor had said, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Waiting until that day felt impossible, but I was determined to do my best to obey, both in my actions and in my thoughts. I had a close friend that I now recognize as a crush, and I didn't get to see her very often, but I would think about her all the time and I would count the days until I could see her again. We talked a lot about boys together and the temptations we felt about kissing. It was a relief to have someone to share these thoughts with. And our emotional intimacy about this topic gave me an idea. I thought to myself, what if, since we're not trying to kiss boys, we kissed each other instead? I figured it would fulfill two purposes. It would help us wait until marriage, and it would give us some practice for our future husbands. I was doing a lot of mental gymnastics here, and my brain had found a creative loophole. I absolutely felt very conflicted and unsure, but a part of me felt like maybe it wouldn't really be sinning. Maybe kissing a girl wouldn't really count the way that kissing a boy would. Now, there were absolutely inconsistencies. For example, the sex dream that I had about a girl made me feel extremely guilty, and I rejected that wholeheartedly. Also, when I was 17 and we finally got the internet, I was watching kissing videos on YouTube, and while I felt extremely guilty about that and thought it was porn. I have a whole video about this. When YouTube suggested to me that I might want to watch a video of two girls kissing, I wanted to click on that video so badly, but I wouldn't let myself, because at that point and in that context, that felt like it would be far worse than watching a guy and a girl kissing. So I share that to point out the conflicts in my logic, but let's not pretend that Christian fundamentalism taught me how to use critical thinking. There were plenty of things that I believed that actively conflicted with each other. So this idea that kissing my friend wouldn't count in the same way that kissing a boy would was another form of bi erasure, because I couldn't recognize my feelings of attraction towards her. I couldn't recognize that it was a crush. And since most of my worldview ultimately existed to serve cishet men, this idea felt kind of like an extension of that. Our future husbands would thank us for having better kissing skills, right? I thought about this idea a lot, and I practiced ways that I could nonchalantly propose it to my friend. Like, so here's a funny idea I thought of randomly. And when I imagined this scenario, I did not see myself closing my eyes and pretending she was a boy. I actually pictured us on a bridge, on a foggy day with no one else around. We had our arms around each other in a warm embrace, and I was imagining her lips and what it must feel like to kiss them. I imagined us doing this a lot, potentially every time we got to see each other, and I thought about how fun it would be to get so much practice in. I wanted this so badly, but I could never quite work up the courage to ask her. I still thought I was straight though. I knew I wasn't a lesbian, and I didn't know that bisexuality existed, so my attraction to boys overshadowed everything else. The last sign I'd like to share happened about 3 or 4 years later, and it is a far more heavy example than the other two. At age 16, I was finally allowed to start reading books by the Christian romance author Francine Rivers. The first book I read was my mom's favorite, Redeeming Love. After that, I read book after book by Rivers, almost filling up an entire bookshelf in my room. Eventually, I made my way to A Voice in the Wind, which is the first book in the Mark of the Lion series. I can't remember much about the plot or the characters, but it is safe to assume that it is just as fucked up as the rest of Francine Rivers' books. The one part from the book that I vividly remember is the problematic and deeply hurtful portrayal of a queer relationship. If I have these details correct, there is a rich and powerful woman named Culliba, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and there is a vulnerable teenager named Julia. Culliba essentially grooms Julia and eventually assaults her. I gave my copy of the book away years ago, but here's an excerpt that I was able to find online. Only twice in the last month had Julia's mother come to her own villa. She had become acutely aware of her mother's subtle reactions to Culliba's openly possessive and affectionate manner. Julia had begun to wonder if Culliba was behaving so deliberately and had given her a pleading look. She had been surprised at the venomous anger sparkling behind those dark eyes. In true Francine Rivers fashion, nothing is subtle. She wants us to know how evil this queer woman is, and she wants young readers to believe that queer people are evil. On the second visit, Culliba made no effort to be discreet or polite. As Julia's mother was ushered into the room, Culliba rose, tipped Julia's chin up, and kissed her full and passionately on the mouth. Straightening, she gave a taunting, contemptuous smile to Julia's mother and retired without excuse. Julia had never seen her mother look so pale or repulsed, and Julia found herself mortified by Caliba's behavior. The scene had caused the first rupture in Julia's infatuation with her mentor. As you can see, the character of Caliba is written as a predator, and that's how Rivers and Fundies and other conservatives see queer people, as predators. It is extremely dehumanizing and wrong, and this storyline had a lasting negative impact on me personally. This book was the first one that I had ever read that depicted a same-gender relationship. And it was one where a minor was preyed upon and where there was a lack of consent. I internalized this message that queer people are evil and cannot be trusted. And so, this was another way I couldn't trust myself. At the same time, I was fascinated by this storyline, and I reread it multiple times. Especially this short conversation that happens between Caliba and Julia's older brother, Marcus. Marcus says, "You want her, Caliba?" Caliba replies, "I've always wanted her." And Marcus says, "You can have her." I thought about those words over and over again. I've always wanted her. And the idea of a woman wanting another woman in that way was intoxicating to me. I told myself I was disgusted by it, and that's why I was thinking about it so much. But the truth is, I saw myself in that desire, and I accepted River's queerphobic message, which made me bury my bisexuality even deeper than before. There are many more childhood signs that I experienced, but I will save those for another day. To all my fellow bi and queer people watching, you are valid. I hope you are having a safe and happy Pride Month, whatever that looks like for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.